Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Philly Sports Pulse. I am Jesse Trone. Along to my right is Adam Den. Welcome to a special Thanksgiving edition of Philly Sports Pulse. Adam, happy Thanksgiving, man. How we doing?
Happy Thanksgiving to you too, brother. Grateful for you, grateful for this show, and grateful for the world of Philly sports that we get to dive into every Thursday. So it's going to be an exciting one.
It is indeed. And yeah, I can't wait to get this one started. So let's get this one started. And I think we have to, unfortunately. I'm not a negative guy by any stretch of the imagination, but we have to talk about the Eagles Dallas game. That offense, man, it was a problem yet again. AJ Brown, we talked about it before the show. He had a great first half, and the Eagles' first half was great. 21 answered points, but
Hmm.
then they just let the gas. They let their foot off the gas.
Yeah.
And Kevin Zullo, uh, it's funny because at uh, a watch party that I had at Kids over the weekend with Rio Birds crew. Shout out Gage, all those guys, and shout out Fun Kids. This listen, I know you weren't raving about the food this week. Listen, I thought the tendies were good, man. I
Okay,
tried
I'll
their
take your word for it.
listen, man. I tried their tendies. I thought they were
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
The sleigh bar upstairs. We managed to get up there, and that was it was fantastic. Love the setup up there. So definitely, I know you're a native of Newark, Delaware.
Of
So I
course.
think we definitely need to make a appearance. Ourselves at Klondike Cakes.
Yeah.
Very soon. But besides all that, besides the atmosphere, which was fantastic, um, yeah, we got to get rolling on the birds and the birds offense in that second half. It's just completely died. Those nice runs that Saquon had in the first half, he did have a couple. That offensive line just completely broke. AJ Brown was just shut down in the second half. Devontae Smith, who I thought was really going to be an X factor, was really shut down. So overall, Adam, what did you see out of that Eagles offense in that game in the second half, and how do you see things going forward?
Yeah, man. It really is a disappointment. And it's one that I think you can even say that we saw coming to an extent. Um, the effect of this Dallas Cowboys defensive line in this game and the amount of pressure that they were able to get on Eagles offensive line that has struggled so much in the loss of Lane Johnson in the past really, had a major impact on this game. I love Fred Johnson. He's a great right tackle, but having him as a sixth offensive lineman is very different than having him at right tackle. And so, the impact that some of these rushers, like, a Marshawn Nealand or, the impact that Quinnen Williams was able to have on this game on the interior, really getting a lot of pressure in Jalen Hurts' face, pressure that he responded well to in the first half, but struggled a lot with over the second half. And then the struggles of the run game as well. I mean, they've worked so much out of 13 personnel throughout this season, able to do that a little less with the loss of Lane Johnson, and therefore the struggles in the run game lead to the down to down inefficiencies in the pass game, and it ends up not looking pretty by any means. And we'll dive all into it. I think there's credit to be given to the defense. I think there's ups and downs on that end as well. But I think the major sticking point here has to be the struggles of the offense continued, and what is this team going to do as they look towards the future and a couple weeks against, I mean, not defenses to count out. I will say that for sure.
But yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest that just popped in on our end. The CEO, the founder of 302 Birds. Colton, welcome to the show, buddy.
Hey, how are you guys? Happy
Hey,
Thanksgiving
happy
to you.
Thanksgiving, man. I can't
I
see you,
appreciate
but
you
I can
guys
hear you.
inviting me
There we
on the
go.
show. It's a
Yeah.
pleasure to be here. Adam, great to see you. Jesse, great to see you.
ya.
I think you guys are doing an exceptional job on this show. It's been really fun to watch and fun to see what you guys are doing. And moreover, hopefully these Philly sports teams will be doing. But yeah, just to recap this game a little bit, Jesse, thank you for giving some love in the beginning to Klondike Kates. I thought that was very well said, very professional, well done. I want to thank Jesse and his pop for coming out. It was really great to meet you and your dad. You guys are great people. And that's what 302 Birds is all about. We're building this community of Philly sports fans in and around Delaware who are passionate about Philly sports and just want to talk about and consume Philly sports in a different way. The new generation, the new era is here, and we're ready for it. So I'm excited, but I wasn't excited about this game. This game sucked. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, right? Like, first half, woo! You had me in the first half, not going to lie, because 24 freaking unanswered points. I'm going to do my best to not curse, but let's just say I was cursing a lot at Klondike Kates to myself because this offense and Kevin Patullo are so lackluster, are so far behind. You guys know that that song by the Black Eyed Peas where it's like, you so 2008, Kevin Patullo 2008. That's how I feel. Like, this guy is just so far behind. And I knew that this hiring could have been an issue. When I don't know if you guys remember the interview, someone, I think it might have been John Clark or maybe it was in training camp. They basically asked Jalen Hurts, they said, how do you feel about this hiring? And he didn't look too excited about it. Like, it felt like to me, the Eagles didn't really weigh out all their options at offensive coordinator. They just brought in somebody in-house that they liked. And in my opinion, I don't think that that's the smartest thing in the world. So I wasn't too happy about that part. But yeah, I'll leave it up to you guys. And once again, thanks for the intro. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Be sure to like, be sure to comment, be sure to subscribe, because these gentlemen are busting ass and doing a great job, and I'm really proud of both of them.
Appreciate you,
Thank
Joel.
you, brother. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, bro. Go Birds.
Happy Thanksgiving. Go Birds. Yes, sir.
This week, got to get our shit together. Part of my French.
Absolutely.
No, you're not wrong. Have a good one, bro. Happy Thanksgiving, dude. Peace out. All right.
Good to see you.
Thank you, Adult, for popping in. Seriously, he did not need to do that, but we appreciate him. Shout out the founder of 302 for doing this. This is really he's one of a couple of reasons why I have the opportunity to have this platform along with Adam. So
very
shout out
grateful.
302. But yeah, so that leads me to my next point, and I think Dalton sort of hinted at it. Just in general this season, the Birds' offense has been very disappointing, and I think questions this week. We thought last week was nuts in the media. This week's gonna be even nuttier with callings for Kevin Patullo to be fired. Do we think, even though this is a mid-season, would be a mid-season issue, do we think that is the move? And do you maybe have some guys in mind that could take over his position at offensive coordinator?
Yeah, I mean, in short terms, Jesse, no and absolutely not. And I guess that's a zag. But in my eyes, Kevin Patullo, I mean, continues to be the problem, right? Because structurally, this Philadelphia Eagles offense looks incomplete. They rely so much on the explosive play. They rely so much without like down-to-down consistency, as we talked about, like they had last year in the run game. But I think what we forget situationally and we've talked about this a lot throughout the season, is how much more talented and efficient at times this Philadelphia Eagles offense was last year on a down to down basis. And the fact that they weren't really throughout the regular season by any metric, one of the top offenses in the league. They were outside of the top 10 in DVOA going into the playoffs last year. And the passing game had a lot of questions. And they were able to rely on what was a really effective and efficient run game. And I think, part of the struggles of that do go down to Patullo. You can say that. There has definitely been a lack of diversity in run concepts in that regard. I like that they've been going under center a little more, but probably still hasn't been enough to make a difference. But I also think that you have to consider the fact that this offensive line, especially on the interior, is so banged up and was such a large part of why they struggled on Sunday was, their inability to control any of the Dallas Cowboys rush. And then, the injury to Lane Johnson, what this offense has looked like, both in the present and in the past when Lane Johnson has been out. And then lastly, the play of the quarterback. And I don't like going there. Again, I said this last week, we're wearing Love Hurts. Like, we're repping the Super Bowl MVP, and I have the confidence and the faith that come playoff time, he's going to be right. But his struggles have absolutely, hurt this offense and their ceiling and what they can do. There's a couple throws on Sunday, where he looks great. He had that great crosser to A.J. Brown, throwing into the teeth of the defense. And then when pressured a lot of times on Sunday, he really struggled to be able to find any rhythm. So I think, given the amount of questions surrounding Patullo and, what he's working with right now, and also the Eagles' past in after firing coordinators, think Matt Patricia, I just don't see a scenario in which firing him is a reasonable option.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how the Eagles respond to this Bears game coming up on Friday, Black Friday, in all black at the link. At least I think it's at the link.
Yep.
I may be wrong.
No, it's at the link.
But
Yep.
it is at the link. So yeah, it's gonna be one heck of a game. Just to go over some of my key matchups. I really am interested to see how Felix Hunt, in particular, goes up against this offensive line, especially Bennett. Hunt's been playing, to me at least, at a borderline elite level this season, and he's currently 22nd in the league with 38 pressures. That Bears offensive line, I think they're a big reason overall why Caleb Williams is having the success that he has. Even though I do think Caleb Williams is a pretty, I want to say underrated quarterback, but he's to
You could say
me,
that.
underrated or he is disrespected to me in a way. He's taken a big step forward, and now granted he has play calling and Ben Johnson to definitely step up in a huge way. But he has playmakers around him that can make plays. But I think Caleb Williams to me has had one monster season, and I'm really interested to see how the Eagles defense does against him. And speaking of the defense, you got to talk about the secondary. Quinyon Mitchell, another guy that has been having a really good season. And there's, to me, number one receiver thus far, Romeo Dunze, has been amazing this season. He's leading the Bears in targets, catches, yards, yards per catch, touchdowns. And I think having Mitchell stick with Dunze it seems like the obvious choice. You could maybe consider like a Dory Jackson, but I have a feeling that Dory would get absolutely cooked by Dunze, and that would just be a disaster. In the making. And then Jordan Davis, another guy that I look for against the Bears to have one monster game. Um, Again, we talked about that Bears offensive line, but I think we really need to give props to Jordan Davis. He's just been an absolute stud. Um, Even though the Bears move the offense on the ground in a big way, second in the league in rushing attempts, and then seventh in yards per carry on the ground. Um, but Davis was drafted to be that run stopping defensive tackle, and I think that he will be a huge factor in doing so on Friday.
Yeah, Jesse, absolutely. And I mean, I'll counter a little bit there. I think, the run game is where this Bears offense has been gettable all year, right? This offensive line has been incredible uh for Chicago, but they rely a lot on the explosive. They rely a lot on Caleb Williams' ability to extend plays throughout this season. This is Caleb Williams has faced 29 unblocked pressures this season. He is the only quarterback to not take a sack on those plays. That means he's able to get outside of the pocket, scramble, make plays on the move, and really, tap into what is a Bears receiver core that has had its ups and downs, but certainly has guys who are able to create yards after the catch and therefore create explosives. On a run game perspective, they've been better over the last couple of weeks with Kyle Monangai, but I think, they're going to be gettable in that regard. And I look to Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, like you said, to be able to, slow them down and force them into third and long situations where I trust this Vic Fangio defense because they really haven't given up the explosive play a lot this season. So, I think it's kind of strength on strength. And I trust this Vic Fangio defense a little more on that end. Where I'm more interested is the other side of the ball. This is going to be a massive opportunity for the Philadelphia Eagles to spark their run game. I truly believe that. Chicago is going to be without their three starting linebackers once again this week. Jalen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell ran all over them a week ago. And it just gives them another opportunity to try to get Saquon Barkley involved a little bit more. Even with how banged up they are on the interior offensive line, I think they still should be able to push around these Bears in their front. Gervon Dexter, who's their best defensive lineman, didn't even practice in full today. So we don't even know his status going into this game. So I expect them to try to get downhill, run the football inside, and see if they're able to on a greater level. It reminds me kind of that Giants game. The second Giants game a couple weeks ago, and their ability maybe to get him going and find their footing once again offensively, and I think it's an exciting opportunity for them.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Before we move on to our next little topic, um, who do you see pulling out the W on Friday night,
Yeah, good
Friday
question,
afternoon?
Jesse. Friday afternoon. I think this is a Philadelphia Eagles win. If you can't already hear it in my voice, um, Chicago Bears. I'll give you a stat. The Chicago Bears are the only team with 8+ wins over the last 3 years. The last team was the 2022 Vikings to have a negative point differential at this point in the season. And so, what does that tell you? That tells you that this is a Bears team that has probably uh, over uh, overstayed their welcome as in being viewed as a contender within this league. And I think when facing a football team which is as talented on both sides of the ball as this Philadelphia Eagles team is, I think it's kind of going to show up in that way. So I think this is a big get back for the Eagles. I'm going to say 31. I'll say 31-21 Eagles win it.
A 30-point game from the Eagles offense.
From the Eagles offense. I think they're going to run the
I
football, Jesse.
ooh ooh. I am not sure how I think about. I'm not sure what I think about that, especially with the injuries on the Eagles' offensive front. The injuries to Lane Johnson, etc. It's a big problem. Not
Yeah.
excusing anything that Kevin Tula has done at all, but I definitely think that this may be a closer game than people think. I do think it's still going to be a W. Do not get me wrong. I still think this is going to be a W. But uh, the Bears defense has held some very good teams um, to some pretty low scoring games these last couple of weeks. I look at the game against the no, this isn't the best example in the world, but the Vikings a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Holding JJ McCarthy and Carson
I
Wentz again.
I
They're
would use
JJ
that
McCarthy
example.
and Carson Wentz to 10 points. Holding the Cardinals to 16 points. Again, they're the Cardinals. But listen, to me, I've liked what Kyler Murray has done this season. I know
I don't know
people
about that one.
may crap on Mr. Tiny Hands or whatever. Another one, holding the Falcons to 17, holding the Packers to 17. They've looked good to me at least. And especially in combination with the yes, I'll put it this way: the terrorist that Kevin Matulu is. Uh, at least to be, it's not a good combination. But I will say, and I sort of predicted this last week, and I got it wrong. When Devontae Smith is needed in the fourth quarter, that guy shows up. He's done it time and again each week. And if there is one position that I'm thinking that there could be a weak spot, I think it could be that secondary. And I think the Eagles are going to do just enough to get the W. I am going 24-21 Eagles W. And I got Devontae Smith making a huge hit in the fourth quarter. And I have this is a little bit of a hot take. I'm stealing a little bit. I'm stealing KJ's thunder with his uh, hot take segment on the main show. Um, but listen, I got a rematch redo of a few years ago. That playoff game, the double doink. I got one of those just because it seems like it is something the Chicago Bears would do. I got one of those, and I got the Eagles squeaking out a crucial W 24-21, and then rolling into a game against the Raiders coming up after that. That's a game that I'm looking forward to. The Eagles offense showing up in a huge way because I am not a fan of the Raiders offense or defense or anything involved. Shout out Chip Kelly though, even though he was fired, Eagles legend. He was fired this past week. But yeah, shout out Chip Kelly. Unfortunately, I think it shows that he's not built for the NFL in the slightest. If you can't
Maybe.
be, we'll see. We'll
He had a
see
good
how
night in his
that goes.
tenure. No,
He did.
what I'll add, I think, you talk a lot about that Bears secondary, and I mean, again, don't have a lot of faith in this Bears defense. I think they've played uh, a really easy schedule and have struggled at times, especially against, Mason Rudolph last week and the explosives that they were able to create in the run game. But this Bears defense does get back potentially Kyler Gordon and Jalen Johnson this week, and getting your two top starting corners back is going to be a big deal, especially when you have an all-pro caliber player like Jalen Johnson has been in the past. We don't know what his health's going to look like. It was a lower body injury that he suffered early in the season, so going to still be working his way back. But that is a big deal for the Chicago team, and I'm excited to see them play.
Yeah, no, I certainly am as well. Excited to see how this one taped out in the Windy City. All right. I was going to go into a segment about the Flyers and the Sixers, but we're running a little bit low on time. We want to do a little bit of a shorter show this week just because all of our schedules are a little bit none of your schedules are all a little bit nutty. So we'll get into our special Thanksgiving segment. We're feeling thankful, ladies and gents. It's Thanksgiving, and I think Philadelphia sports fans have a lot to be thankful for this year. And we'll just get into a few guys on my list. We have to start first off with Vic Fangio. He has had one hell of a tenure this year with the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, a little bit of a rough one last week, letting up 21 and 24 unanswered points. But is that his fault? No, it's absolutely not. There's been plenty of games this season where his scheming has led the Eagles to massive W's against the Lions and against Green Bay, who are some very good teams in the NFC North. So I think he deserves all of the praise in the world. And listen, I know Nick Foles has that statue next to the link. Some Eagles greats have some statues next to the link. I think Doug Peterson is included in that Nick Foles statue. The
Yeah.
that incredible pass to Nick Foles that essentially won the Eagles Super Bowl 52 against the Patriots. But listen, to me at least, Vic Fangio, if the Eagles win another bowl, I think that man deserves a statue. I do.
I
That
agree.
dude has just been absolutely incredible. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I completely agree. Vic Fangio is someone that I think we should all be grateful for. I talked about it a lot. The Philadelphia Eagles offense, um, this year is not very different from what it was in 2023. This team overall is not very different from what it was in 2023. The difference is Vic Fangio in this defense. The difference is the stability and consistency they have in a guy like Fangio. And I mean, I guess people who I can be thankful for, and Quinion Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Jalen Carter, and Jordan Davis, and Zach Bond. I would say the core pieces of this defense that you're probably going to try to look to move forward with. These are pieces that really weren't a part of this aging defense and their roster 2 years ago, back in 2023. I mean, obviously Carter was here, but still just a rookie. Davis, had his ups and downs, and the struggles of the secondary were well warranted. Darius Slay slowly devolving at the end of his career, and you don't want to hear us talk about James Bradbury. It's going to give you some PTSD. So I'm thankful that this defense has a lot of core pieces that they are going to build into the future with. They are the youngest defense in football, and they are still one of the 5 or 10 best, and that is absolutely something to be grateful for.
Yeah, no, I agree. Another guy on my list, Devontae Smith. We talked about him briefly to end that last segment. Um, that guy to me, he has been one of the more underrated wide receivers in football, even though he puts up numbers and he's in an offense with AJ Brown. He's had plenty of moments this year and really in years past where he has just absolutely showed up. In the Super Bowl last year, the dagger, everybody remembers that. And yeah, he basically won us was the one of the biggest parts in that Eagles W against the Chiefs. I think whenever it's crunch time, whenever the lights are the brightest, Eagles don't go to AJ Brown. They go to Devontae Smith. They go to they go to the Slim Reaper to get the job done. And he has just been a fantastic get for the Eagles. And I remember at the draft, everybody was like, "Oh, he's too small. He's too skinny. He's gonna get blown up." Listen, like people don't realize NFL physical therapy, NFL conditioning, it's just a different beast. And that
Yes.
dude has just been a different beast to start his 2025 season and overall his Eagles career.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You got to have a lot of love for Smitty. He, provides so much for this offense, just, in his ability as probably the best route runner uh, that this franchise has had. Uh, I mean, maybe across their history. I mean, thinking back to guys like Mike Quick and Deshaun Jackson, and there's a lot of names, but he certainly stands out. And so it's incredible to have him here. And I guess I'll kind of piggyback and stay Eagles. And I'm grateful for Lane Johnson. We've talked about it a lot. You're seeing the impact with him off the field. And he is just such a core piece of what this team has been over the past decade. He's still the best right tackle in football at the age that he's at. So great in pass protection, but you're seeing what he does in the run game as well, and the opportunities that he gives this Eagles offense. So I am really hoping that he's going to be able to make it back soon. I know they were talking about maybe he makes it back for this Raiders game because it'll have been 4 weeks. We'll see how that goes. I don't want to rush him, but he is, the ultimate Philadelphia Eagle, and his name will be up on those banners at the top of Lincoln Financial Field for a very, very long time.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. Lane to me, I mean, you can just tell when he's not on the field, this Eagles offense is run completely different. It is more conservative, uh, and is not as effective. Uh, I remember there was a stint, forget if it was in 23 or 24, where he was out for a couple of games. And he has seemed to have the injury bug the last year or two for a few games. That he's back to normal. That all pro uh, offensive lineman that everybody knows.
Yeah,
But you just saw when he is off the field, this Eagles offense is just it's run differently. It's run differently, and it doesn't pop the same when Lane Johnson is off the field.
absolutely. Yeah.
All right, so my final uh, person that I am thankful for, switching from the Eagles to the Sixers. I was thinking Phillies for a second, but
Are
they
you gonna
like,
take mine?
but you know what? I may. Um, I am honestly, I'm gonna take two.
Okay.
Uh, I am thankful for VJ Eshkom and Tyrese Maxey. And
Okay.
Tyrese Maxey, we'll start with him. Tyrese Maxey has been a staple in this Sixers offense. I think it's a damn thing that Joel Embiid and Paul George have not been there to support him because there have been a handful of games this season that the guy has just had to carry this Sixers offense. I mean, we saw it last night against Orlando, and he was shut down. When you shut down the greatness that is Tyrese Maxey, you shut down the entire Sixers offense. You saw this problem. You've seen this problem for years with Joel. You shut down Joel. You shut down this entire Sixers offense. And it may be just a game. It may just be one or two games. The Sixers are on a 1 to 2 game losing streak. We'll see if they can get it together in the next couple of games. But I really think that he's been a guy that you cannot stop when he is going good. That dude is a tour de force for the Sixers offense. And then I'll group another guy in the Sixers sort of club, VJ Eshkom. VJ Eshkom has just been a godsend for the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, he's a little streaky. He is. But my God, you have a guy that on his opening debut is putting rookie record numbers in terms of points up on the board. You're talking Will Chamberlain territory. You're talking LeBron territory. You know that guy is just an absolutely special player, and he'll give you a streak of like 20-point games every once in a while, and he's versatile. He can go in the paint. He can give you dunks. He can give you threes. When he's on, he's on. And I'm just very thankful for him. Uh, I know that he had a little bit of a rough upbringing. I'll always remember in that draft, he talked about, listen, man, there were some days I just we didn't have the generator on. We had the generator on the house because we were low on electricity or whatever. So I know that when he got to this point, he would not take this opportunity for granted and would just absolutely show up. And so far in his NBA career, he has. I'm very excited to see how the career of VJ Estrom goes.
Yeah, absolutely, Jesse. And it's hard to it's hard to spin it and be do a thankful Sixers thing after, what we've witnessed over the last two and the struggles of this team defensively, but you have to be thankful for the backcourt of the future, right? Tyrese Maxey has done all he can in these past two games. The like you kind of referenced, the offensive load that has been placed on him is simply too much for one player to carry, even one who's playing at the All NBA level that Maxey has so far this season. And they've asked him to work so much as a pure isolation scorer and less as a point guard within the offense like he does with Embiid healthy. And I think we saw last year the how that load drags him down. And we're seeing it again. So I'm hopeful that Embiid's going to be able to come back and play soon. I know there were reports of him practicing yesterday, so we're hopeful that he's able to get back in here and get it started. And hopeful VJ is able to get back as well. He's missed the last two, and they've really needed his shooting, his physicality on defense. They're two things that this team has absolutely been lacking in those two games. He has had his rookie moments for sure, as you referenced. His shot selection hasn't always been the most efficient. He's still learning how to be a good NBA defender, but he's definitely the shooting guard of the future and a key piece that you can build on. So grateful for him to be a part of this, and you have to look more optimistically at the future of the Philadelphia 76ers with those two in the backcourt. And you know what, Jesse, I will take a Sixer as well, and it's a guy who I think is the connective tissue behind what this team is on both ends of the floor, and he's been out for a little bit, and I think it's really hurt this team. And that guy is not Joel Embiid, it is not Paul George, it's Kelly Oubre Jr., who has missed a couple of games now. And man, what Kelly Oubre was doing early this year was really incredible, and I think moving forward, he has to be a priority just as a rotation player. Kelly Oubre averaging, a much better 3-point percentage than he did a year ago. A year ago, he was just 29% from three. He's up to 34 this season, up from the field as well, and just really able to give them that 3-and-D player that they were really lacking a year ago. alongside Embiid and Maxey. I think when he's healthy, he's going to be a key part of this rotation. Maybe even getting starter minutes and giving them some length and versatility alongside guys who need the ball in their hands, like a Maxey, like an Edgecombe, like a Paul George, like a Joel Embiid, and just being a really key contributor. So I'm really excited for Kelly Oubre to get back. I think he's going to be awesome.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. One thing before we end today's show, on this amazing Thanksgiving Thursday. Adam, what are you going for tonight in the food section of tonight? The turkey, the stuffing, the pumpkin pie. What do
Yeah.
you go for? And we'll open that up to the
Yeah.
comments as well.
Yeah. You know what, Jesse? I'm going to take my mac and cheese and I am going to sit down and I'm going to watch the beauty that is this 3-game slate of Thanksgiving football, and life is going to be good. Couldn't ask for much more. How about you?
Yeah, I wish that the mac and cheese was a staple in this Churone household, but unfortunately, it is not for whatever reason. I don't understand it. It never has been. I don't think it ever will be. I've tried the mac and cheese propaganda in the Sure household, and it's just not meant to be. So I think I'm gonna have to go with the sweet potatoes. Those
Fair.
to me, we have those here,
Underrated.
and those are the most underrated potatoes
Yep.
on the face of the planet.
I
Hold on,
agree.
wait a minute. Hang on. Dalton, what is this? What is this? What is this, buddy? Yeah,
I'm with
no.
that. No, I'm with that.
No.
Shout out, Dalton. I'm
No.
with that. I'm with that. No, we're with that. We're with that.
Well, wait a minute. Hang on.
You don't want to let the Dallas Cowboys back in the playoff race, man. I don't think you want to do it. With how this defense is playing right now, I don't think you want to do it. So go Dalton. I'm with you there.
Listen. Listen. I feel like this Chiefs will be a very very dangerous 7th seed. You do not want the Chiefs in the play. You don't want that.
But I'll take the Chiefs in the playoffs, and the assumption that I'm gonna make the Super Bowl is a tough one. So I'll let them sneak in here. This is the weakest Chiefs team we've seen of the past couple renditions. You've already beat them once. Go Chiefs today.
Yeah. All right, we'll take that. Dalton with the mashed potatoes, mac and cheese, turkey and gravy. Listen.
That's a good plate.
That's a good plate. Now, this is probably a take and one with this. This is a take that this may get me canceled. Honestly, turkey is the most overrated plate of the Thanksgiving plate.
Yes.
It is so bland. I don't understand why turkey is the thing. It's so bad.
Nope. You get one plate of turkey, and then the rest of the plate is all sides. Every other subsequent plate is all sides. That's what it has to be. That's what it has to be.
I don't understand. Dalton, you're onto it. It's so dry. I don't understand. And listen, people could say, "Oh, you can put the gravy on it and it makes it better." For a main course to be your staple, you cannot put condiments on it.
Yeah.
The main course needs to be the main course. The main course needs to be the Kobe Bryant, the Michael Jordan of Thanksgiving. And it's just not. It's not that.
Don't make me do a Kobe MJ debate on Thanksgiving, Jesse.
No, listen, man. I didn't think that's where I'm going, but we're going. We went there. And listen, that is a fantastic way and today's show. The Thanksgiving edition started with a bang and it ended with a bang. Thank you all for watching today's edition of the Thanksgiving pod, Philly Sports Pulse. Shout out 302 Birds. Please go follow 302 Birds on the Instagrams, the Twitters, the Facebooks, the TikToks, all that stuff. And follow Philly Sports Pulse also on Instagram. We're mainly doing the Instagram right now. So please follow Philly Sports Pulse on Instagram. I'm dropping content on there almost every single day for the latest insight and analysis straight to the heart of the city of Philadelphia. Please tune in there, and please tune in next week. We're trying to do Thursdays, weekly Thursday shows, weekly shows
Yeah.
of Philly Sports Pulse. So we are looking forward to keeping on here live on the Philly Sports Pulse. Alongside my
Absolutely.
host, Adam Den. I'm
Yeah.
Jesse Sharon. Thank you guys for joining us today. Will Birds, happy Thanksgiving, everybody.